Picture a busy sidewalk in a Canadian city. Two strangers walking toward each other. Their shoulders brush, barely, for less than a second. Both of them say sorry at almost exactly the same moment. Neither one was really at fault. It genuinely doesn't seem to matter.
This tiny scene repeats itself constantly, all across the country, every single day. Canadians have a well-earned international reputation for saying one word constantly: sorry.
It comes out for bumped shoulders, for asking a simple question, for barely anything at all.
Visitors often find it charming at first, then increasingly delightfully absurd.
So here's the real question. Why does one small country apologize quite this much? The answer says a lot about what the word sorry has actually come to mean there. In many places, saying sorry is treated as a serious admission of real fault. And in Canada, it usually means something much lighter, closer to excuse me. It's less a confession and more a small, reflexive social smoothing over.
A tool for keeping everyday interactions friendly, easy, and free of friction.
This habit runs so deep that it eventually became a genuine matter of law. In 2009, the province of Ontario passed something now known as the Apology Act.
The law states plainly that an apology cannot be treated as an admission of legal guilt.
A doctor can express sympathy for a bad outcome without that being used against them.
A driver can say sorry after a small collision without automatically accepting the blame.
Essentially, the law gave legal cover to a habit that was already everywhere. It let people keep doing what came naturally without fear of it being misread later.
The habit itself is often traced back through several tangled cultural roots.
British politeness traditions run deep in Canadian institutions and everyday manners alike. That same reserved, understated style of speech quietly shaped how Canadians talk generally. Layered on top of that is a strong, ongoing cultural preference for social harmony.
Diffusing small tension quickly is often valued more than being technically, precisely correct.
A quick sorry smooths over an awkward moment before it has any chance to grow. It keeps queues moving, elevators comfortable, and sidewalks pleasant for absolutely everyone. Canadians themselves are often the first to laugh warmly at their own habit.
Stories circulate about apologizing to inanimate objects after walking into a table.
Or apologizing to someone else entirely for accidentally being in their way first.
One popular account describes drivers waving apologetically after a minor traffic mix-up.
Nobody honks? Everyone just seems to wave, smile gently, and continue on their way. For newcomers and international students, the habit takes real getting used to.
Some describe feeling genuinely surprised the first time they receive an apology for nothing.
Most eventually adopt the habit themselves without ever fully noticing the shift happening. It becomes less a conscious choice and more something absorbed simply through living there. In the United States, right next door, the same word often carries much heavier weight. There, an apology is more commonly read as a direct admission of fault or weakness. That single difference has become something of a small running joke between the two countries. A quick sorry means something noticeably different depending on which side of the border you're on. Canada's own sense of national identity plays a quiet role in all of this too.
The country is famously, proudly diverse, shaped by waves of immigration from everywhere.
With so many different backgrounds woven together, shared everyday courtesy becomes a kind of glue.
A small, universally understood gesture that works across nearly every cultural line. Sorry doesn't require shared history or a shared native language to land correctly.
It's simple, immediate, and crucially, almost impossible to seriously misread. Some linguists studying the habit describe it as social lubrication, in the friendliest sense. It keeps daily interactions moving smoothly without unnecessary friction or awkward pauses. Not every Canadian is equally quick to say it, and regional differences certainly exist.
But the broader stereotype holds up well enough to have become genuinely beloved worldwide.
Even Canadian media leans into the joke warmly, rather than pushing back against it. Comedians build entire routines around imagined, wildly over-apologetic Canadian characters. Tourism campaigns occasionally wink at the stereotype rather than trying to correct it. It's treated less like an embarrassing flaw and more like an oddly endearing signature trait. So step back and consider what's actually being communicated in that quick, reflexive word. It isn't really an admission that something went seriously wrong. It's a small, immediate signal. I see you, and I don't want this moment to feel tense. That's a strikingly generous thing for a single word to be doing constantly. In busy modern life, minor friction happens constantly in queues, on sidewalks, in doorways. Most cultures handle those tiny frictions in their own particular way, spoken or not. Canada just happens to have settled on one small, remarkably flexible word for the job.
It absorbs almost any minor bump, awkward pause, or moment of mild embarrassment.
And it does so instantly, without requiring anyone to slow down or explain themselves.
There's something worth noticing in a culture that defaults to smoothing things over quickly.
Not smoothing over real problems, worth noting, just the countless tiny frictions of daily life.
A bumped shoulder, an accidentally interrupted sentence, a moment of being briefly in someone's way.
None of those really need an actual apology. They just need a small, kind acknowledgement. You don't need to move to Canada to borrow a small version of that instinct. Just a quick, easy word or gesture, offered without overthinking it. When you brush past someone, it costs almost nothing to say, and it tends to leave people feeling just slightly better. That's really the whole quiet philosophy tucked inside one small, overused Canadian word. Keep things easy, keep things kind. Don't let a tiny bump become anyone's whole afternoon. Back on that busy sidewalk, the two strangers have already continued on their separate ways. Neither one thinks about the moment again, not even for a second.
The small friction dissolved instantly, smoothed over by one word, spoken twice at once.
Multiply that by millions of tiny moments a day, across an entire country, every single day, and you start to understand why the habit became something close to a national character trait. Not weakness, and not excessive apology, despite how the joke usually gets told.
Just a small, constant, remarkably effective way of keeping everyday life a little gentler.
One bumped shoulder, one quiet word, repeated endlessly across an entire snowy, polite country.
It costs nothing, takes half a second, and rarely leaves anyone feeling worse off for it.
Maybe that's the quiet secret behind a word so small doing so much daily work.
It simply lets people move past each other gently, instead of carrying the friction forward.